Hello and welcome to News Central TV. My name is Mazino Appeal. The top stories this hour. In a bid to combat terrorism, Nigerian Air Force strikes kills over 20 bandits in Katsina. And Okuama mourns victims of military raid, demands release of detained community members. Also coming up, South African government denounces United States decision to expel Ambassador Ibrahim Rasool. Welcome again. Now let's begin by telling you that in a significant blow of criminal networks, the Nigerian Air Force has launched a successful airstrike in Katsina State, neutralizing more than 20 bandits. The operation, carried out on 13th of March 2025 by the air component of Operation Fansan Yamma, targeted the fortified camps of notorious bandit leaders Gero and Alhaji Riga in the Unguwar Goga Hillforest, Ruwan Godiya Ward, Faskari Local Government Area. A statement from the Nigerian Air Force confirmed that the decision, or rather precision strikes based on actionable intelligence, inflicted heavy losses on the bandit network. Other casualties were reported in the surrounding rocky hills. Gero and Riga were key figures in the region's banditry, providing safe haven for terrorist elements responsible for deadly ambushes along the Funtua-Gusau Road. This latest strike is seen as a major step in the ongoing military campaign to restore peace and stability, in the Northwest region. Meanwhile, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, says it has encountered significant obstacles in the efforts to counter terrorism within the sub-region. This situation has been worsened by the withdrawal of certain member states from the regional bloc. News Central's Igbalani Omoni evaluates the consequences that the actions and inactions of the regional bloc have had on the region as a whole.
The human cost of terrorism in the West African region is staggering. Communities have been displaced, livelihoods destroyed, and countless lives lost. The region's economy has also suffered significantly, with trade and investment dwindling due to security concerns. Across the region, over 33 million people have been displaced due to regional insecurity in the past year. While the regional body has established a counter-terrorism plan, its implementation has been hindered by funding constraints. The situation is further complicated by the withdrawal of 3 member states, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, from ECOWAS. These countries have formed the Alliance of Sahel State AES, which has criticized ECOWAS for its lack of counter-terrorism support. But are they doing any better in terms of handling terrorism? And what is ECOWAS doing?
ECOWAS sees the security of each and every one of us to be closely tied, and for that reason, security collaboration will continue at all levels, not only within West Africa, but across the region, across the continent.
While Niger's military government has faced criticism for its handling of security issues, Mali and Burkina Faso have also struggled with ongoing jihadist insurgencies, which have led to significant humanitarian crises and displacement of populations.
And I suspect that each of these countries is going to start working by itself instead of working together or working in a group. So the competitiveness of those countries is going to be reduced. And as I said earlier, that is going to be reflected in higher costs of goods, of services, of transport, and other facilitation of trade among those regions.
Member states call for collective approach to tackling the violent extremism in the region, rather than countries prioritizing national security initiatives which fragments response to threat.
In this regard, I am pleased to highlight the activation of the ECOWAS standby force to combat terrorism in the sub-region. The activation of this force underscores our collective determination to confront the scourge of terrorism with regards to insecurity and ensure the safety and security of our citizens.
Noting that the fight against terrorism in West Africa is far from over, stakeholders say a united and coordinated effort can overcome this threat and build a safer, more prosperous region for all. In Lagos for News Central, Igalani Omani.
March 14th, 2024 marked 1 year anniversary of the Okuama bloodbath, a tragic incident which happened, and I beg your pardon, I think I'll take that all the way from the top again. Now, March 14th, 2025 marks 1 year anniversary of the Okuama bloodbath, a tragic incident in which 17 Nigerian soldiers on a peace mission to the Okuama community in Uheli South Local Government Area of Delta State, South Nigeria, were ambushed and killed by unidentified militants. The incident was widely condemned by Nigerians and the international community, but the Nigerian soldiers' reprisal attack brought the Okuama community to ruins, displacing residents before the state government temporarily relocated them to the internally displaced persons camp in Otoewu, where they stayed for 8 months. News Central's correspondent Austin Azu, who has been covering the Okuama incident from day one, reports how the community members have been faring 1 year after the tragic incident and their demands.
Okuama community in Uheli South Local Government Area of Delta State, South Nigeria, rose from the ashes after March 14, 2024, when 17 brave Nigerian soldiers on a peace mission to the community were ambushed and killed by unidentified militants. According to reports, that dismembered bodies were discovered floating along the river Focados after 3 days. In their reprisal attacks, Nigerian soldiers besieged the Okuama community, restricting access from and to the community, including the state governor Sheriff Oborewori, while journalists were also barred. After the reprisal attack, this was what the community looks like. While the military are still in Okuama, notable men from the community and kingdom, including the Ovie of Ewu Kingdom, His Royal Majesty Clement Ikolo, Urupe First, were declared wanted by the military. Nigerian soldiers didn't spare neighboring communities as they continued ransacking individuals' houses, one of which was the late Edwin Clark's house in Keagbodo, all in the quest of looking for their stolen arms.
This door was broken by the military. They used their boot or another strong object to break the door. See it very well here. Without search warrant.
In the midst of the security tension and access restrictions in Okuama community, News Central, through its special report, was able to assess the destroyed Okuama community through the air, thereby uncovering what happened thereafter in the community.
This is a two-story building. Belongs to Reverend Father Sylvester Enoma.
6 weeks after, the military finally bowed to pressure, withdrew their men from Okuama community, thereby setting the stage for the displaced Okuama residents to return to the IDP camp requested and prepared for them by the state governor in Otoewu, as Governor Sheriff Oborewori assured them of the rebuilding process of the community and reintegration.
Somebody was not telling me that we should go camp for Ewu. Yes, about 35 years services, a common civil servant, they destroy everything.
News Central, in one of its corporate social responsibilities and providing a platform for the voiceless, had a town hall meeting at Okuama community to amplify their voices.
It's on your diary now. Sure?
Nevertheless, the Okuama bloodbath serves as a reminder of the sacrifices made by Nigerian soldiers in maintaining peace and security in the country, as they were honored with befitting military burial in Abuja by President Bola Tinubu, accompanied by governors of the South and others. While in their IDP camp in Otoewu, some notable individuals were arrested by the military and imprisoned. James Ogoroko was arrested but died in military custody, and the community says others are still in detention. 1 year after the disaster that struck the once peaceful Okuama community, The people of the community who are still counting their losses and picking up the pieces of their lives had a prayer section in the church to mark the anniversary. They, however, called on both the state and federal governments for assistance to rebuild the Okuama community again, among other demands.
So we are here today to tell the federal government, please, all our expectation, let our leaders be released. Let the body of our President General be released to us. Because where we are requesting for this, because we know nothing about the crisis that happened.
All we want, make our president do for us. May he come build the community for us. May he come open school for us. And may he bring food. Most especially, may he release those our people. Those people is our eye in this community.
We are here to appeal to the federal government, the state government, and Nigeria Army that our leaders that they are in custody, they should release them for us. Then let this community be rebuilt again.
Similarly, the member representing Ugele and Udu Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives, Gero and Riga, at a plenary session in Abuja, called on the Nigerian soldiers to charge those arrested Okuama leaders to court, instead of keeping them in military detention to determine their fates.
The House resolves to urge the Nigerian Army to release A, the report of their investigation, B, the detained innocent members of the community or charge them to court, C, rebuild the community homes destroyed by their men in the wake of this incident, and finally mandate the Committee on Defense to ensure compliance and report within 4 weeks for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Okuama is an Urhobo-speaking community, shares boundaries with two Ijaw communities of Akugbene and Okoloba. Okuama and Okoloba community have been embroiled in a land boundary dispute before the crisis. The various panels of acquirings established by the Delta State government and that of the Nigerian military are yet to present their white papers on what transpired on March 14th, where 17 soldiers were killed and 114 members of Okuama community lost their lives. In Okuama for News Central, Austin Azu.
Welcome back. Now, the World Health Organization has donated essential medical equipment and supplies to the Borno state government to strengthen healthcare services. Now, News Central's Umaru Kira reports that the donations include disinfectants, referral slips, mattresses, detergents, and medical furniture, among others. While handing over the equipment, the World Health Organization's representative, Dr. Kumshida Balami, said the donation aims to improve access to quality healthcare, particularly for vulnerable women and children in Borno State.
On behalf of the entire WHO, this particular funding, we got it from the contingency fund for emergency that was mobilized by the WHO regional office in Dakar for Sahel countries who are devastated by insurgency. So we believe that these essential commodities, the infection prevention control guidelines, of course the nutrition supplies and the IEC materials will serve to help in promoting and sensitizing education for the treatment and prevention of malnutrition and common childhood illnesses.
On that note, I want to appreciate WHO once again, and that I want to assure WHO that under the leadership of His Excellency, Dr. Babagana Omarajlo, all items that are donated are judiciously used. And they reach all even the hard-to-reach areas. As we are here in these premises, the Drugs and Medical Supply Agency is assiduously working hard to ensure the last mile delivery of items, especially including drugs, and these are some of the components.
Now, away from that, Court of Appeal in Abuja has halted the reinstatement of Muhammadu Sanusi II as the Emir of Kano. A three-member panel of justice, led by Justice Okunabang, on Friday unanimously halted the implementation of the January 10 judgment, which vacated the nullification of Sanusi II's appointment by a Kano State High Court. The judgment was delivered by Justice Gabriel Kolawole. It held that the nullification of Sanusi II's appointment was done without the required jurisdiction and ordered the transfer of the suit to the Kano State High Court. But ruling on the fresh application, the appellate court agreed that the applications seeking to halt the enforcement of the earlier judgment pending the appeal before the Supreme Court were competent and meritorious. To politics now. New Nigeria People's Party has lashed out at one Ogoni Sunday whom it claimed was an imposter and did not represent the party in any form or capacity. Ogoni had, in a press statement, had claimed to be NNPP's national secretary and refuted ex-governor of Katsina State, Nasir El-Rufai's claims that the federal government was behind the internal crisis within the party. But in a statement in Abuja, the National Publicity Secretary, Ladipo Johnson, NNPP denounced every word attributed to Ogoni, affirming that he and others had since been expelled from the party over anti-party activities. Nigeria's political landscape is witnessing major shifts as key figures make high-profile defections ahead of the 2027 general elections. On the 10th of March 2025, former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai resigned from the All Progressives Congress and joined the Social Democratic Party, criticizing the APC's leadership. His defection coincided with Adewale Adebayo's announcement of his presidential bid under the SDP. In another significant development, Abdulaziz Adediran, popularly known as Jandor, resigned from the People's Democratic Party on the 3rd of March 2025, citing internal crisis and anti-party activities. Jandor, a former Lagos State governorship candidate, is widely expected to return to the APC. Earlier in January 2025, former Sokoto State Governor Attahiru Bafarawa also left the PDP, stating his intention to focus on youth-driven initiatives. These defections highlight growing instability within opposition parties as Nigeria moves closer to the 2027 elections. So, to explore this further, I'm joined by George Ashiru, Chairman of the African Democratic Congress in Lagos State. George, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
It's my pleasure always to be with you.
Great. Now, George, with figures like Nasir El-Rufai, no small figure, leaving the APC and Jandor stepping away from the PDP, do you think this signals deeper issues within party leadership, or is it more about personal ambition and internal disputes?
I think both come to play because I think you would realize that a lot of people join political movements for two key reasons, either for selfish, self-preservation, opportunity, or on the other spectrum, to serve the country as patriots. So if you are coming in from a patriotic point of view, you pick a platform based on an ideology that you support, or that you adhere to, or that you agree with, and a style of leadership that you like to promote. And so when there's a problem within that context, and you find that you cannot find expression for your patriotism, just like the way people leave organizations, people will leave the parties. On the other hand, you have those who essentially it's all about getting what they want. So if they can't get what they want on a platform, they will look for a low-hanging fruit to be able to express the same opportunity. So usually those are the two equilibriums that people swing between.
And given the loss of key members like Attahiru Bafarawa and also Jandor, do you believe these defections will significantly impact voter sentiment, particularly in states where certain parties have traditional are specifically dominated?
I think one of the challenges we have in the political spectrum across all 19 parties and all the parties beforehand is the tendency to not carry the electorate along in our pursuits, ambitions, and our promotion of whatever it is that we want to achieve for the people through the political platforms. Now, if the people, for example, have a particular desire, and you look for a party that has the capacity to deliver according to what the people want, then at that point, your personal ambition is no longer relevant or important, because at the end of the day, no matter where you move to, people will vote in accordance with the organization that best celebrates what they believe in. And I think that's one of the challenges we have, is that we don't really truly have ideology-based politics in Nigeria. A lot of the political party platforms are not standing very, very clearly for the people to see on particular principles. Like you, for example, have the United States. It's either you're liberal or you're conservative. Everybody knows what that means. And so most people who are liberal for life, and generations after them are liberal. And those who are conservative for life, and generations after them, because the ideologies pin the way of life that they want to promote. I think the way we play politics in this country is all about, let me get there first, and then I'll look for, how to promote what it is that the people want. And I think this is the reason you see quite a lot of this whirlstorm of movements between parties, ever since we started our political journey, right back in the 60s, even in the 50s. And so we need to get back to, what do the people really want? And if you know what the people want, that's why they do a lot of polling in foreign countries, European countries and North America. The polling will tell them what the people want. And once you know what the people want, you stand with the people. And if standing with the people means standing against the ruling party, or standing against big behemoths in the party system, or great godfathers, then that is doing the right thing. But if you're thinking, let me just flow with the leaders or flow with what the party is doing, without thinking first of the electorate, then clearly, the idea of being in party politics to serve the country is lip service. And I think that's one of the things you're going to find in the next election. People are going to overly begin to move towards the sentiment for who is serving their interest rather than who is serving the interest of the politicians.
George, let me ask you personally, how frustrated are you with party leadership in Nigeria?
Well, I'm a party leader, so I cannot begin to say what party leadership is doing. Basically, what you are going to find, even as a party leader, is that there are contending forces within your organization. Like I just said, there are forces who want you to do politics for money. There are forces who want you to do politics for power. There are forces who want to do politics for service. And as a leader, you are caught between these forces. Some of these forces have louder voices than the others. Some are richer than others. Some are more influential than the others. And that frustrates leadership. But a true leader will bring the kind of corporate culture into their parties that would allow the majority to flow with them and say, look, this is the principle that this leader stands with, and therefore this is what I'm following. Now, if you look at the kind of politics we had in the days of UPN and NPN, and even before that, the First Republic, a lot of people followed the leaders because of who they were and what they stood for. They didn't care about the appellation. They didn't know people, if you ask the average Yoruba man in those days, action group, they can't define what it means. But they were able to say the reason we followed Awolowo, followed this person or that person, or Abadu Bello, or, is because of who they were, the character, the integrity, what they believe that they are promoting. And I think that's what we need to get back to, ideology-based leadership, because that's the culture that the party will imbibe, and it will flow to the electorate. They will see it. But if we don't have ideologies, then this is what happens. We just kind of like go round and round, rolling around in a circle of mediocrity, which frustrates the people, and that's why people don't turn out to vote.
Mm-hmm. So I asked that question to go into this next one now. Based on the frustration that people might be witnessing or expressing regarding party leadership, how do you think this will shape political campaigns leading up to the 2027 elections? Will the focus shift more toward individual candidates rather than party ideologies?
So this is one of the challenges we have. In a lot of instances, candidates don't spend enough of their time and resources helping to build their ideologies within parties. A lot of candidates come into parties purely for electoral purposes. They want to win election. They do not care about the histories of that party. They do not care about the founding principles of the party. Sometimes they don't even care about the structures of these parties. And so they run a very self-centered campaign. And quite a lot of the times, they cannot win with a self-centered campaign, because you're going to have a lot of people who like the party but don't like the candidate. Then you're going to have some people who like the candidate but don't like the platform. So now that lack of cohesion between the ambitions of the people that are running for government and the party they stand for actually is the reason a lot of opposition parties are not chipping away from the ruling parties from the history of Nigeria. But the moment cohesion comes, where there is this, when the chairman of the party speaks and the candidate of the party speaks and all the other people speak, and they are speaking in the same language, and the people understand what they're saying, and they feel they're there for them first, not for their individual ambitions, you're going to see an osmosis. There will be a migration of people towards those kinds of political movements. Clearly, that's one of the things we are trying to do in African Democratic Congress in Lagos State. Create a culture where people feel, look, we're interested in the economics of the state. We're interested in globalization of the state. We're interested in this state moving beyond just one party or one person being in control of all our Commonwealth. We want the people to be part of governance. And I think that's one of the things that is critical for all political leadership to understand. You need to bring people together. It may take years, it may take decades, but if you really care for the people, you shouldn't be worried about you winning the next election. You should be worried about you getting the party to get what the people want, no matter how long it takes. And I think that's one of the things we need to learn. There's a lot to learn even from foreign countries, and you see how these how these individual candidates integrate themselves into the party, and they carry the party's message. They don't carry their message; they carry the party's message, which means find a party whose message resonates with your own personal principles. The moment you do that, it'll be very easy and you'll be believable. People will look at you, listen to you, and believe you. But if they feel that the language they're hearing is language of just vote for me, vote for me, vote for me, they'd rather stay at home. And unfortunately, that's the kind of democracy that we seem to be promoting at the moment. We need to work at it, all of us who are in party leadership.
So George Ashiru, want to say thank you very much for joining us this afternoon to give us your opinion on the matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Now let's go on a break. When we come back, more news on the other side. A civic reception is underway in Kalabari land, a stronghold of the Ijaw people in Rivers State, to honor the FCT minister Nyesom Wike. The event holding in Thanksgiving for the Supreme Court ruling on Rivers politics affairs comes just 3 days after the minister made derogatory remarks about the Ijaw people during a press conference. Meanwhile, the Eastern Zone of the Ijaw Youth Council has scheduled a congress at the same venue and time as a protest against the minister. For more on this, we're joined by our correspondent, Biola Festus. Biola, I'm hoping that you can hear us at the moment. We know you're at the venue right now, so please do indicate if you can hear us right now. Once again, Biola, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you amidst the noise in the background, but we're going to go right ahead and ask you to give us an idea of what the atmosphere is like there.
Noise in the radio. It's not the radio.
Area where the collaboration is working on the
You are receiving me today. God bless you.
But you need to call and say, I find
Biola, unfortunately, the audio is very bad. We're going to come back to you before the end of this bulletin, so please do stand by. Thank you very much. Now, human rights activist Deji Adeyanju has urged Nigerians to prioritize discussions on the proposed tax reform bill rather than getting distracted by ongoing controversies in the Senate. Speaking at a press briefing in Abuja, Adeyanju criticized politicians for focusing on personal disputes while supporting policies that could negatively impact Nigerians. He described Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's allegations of sexual harassment against President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, as mere distractions from important legislative issues of more concerns to Nigerians.
The Senate President ought to have recused himself, sincerely recused himself from presiding over that matter. After all, it has happened in this country before, where Saraki, Saraki was accused of buying bulletproof vehicles. He recused himself and allowed the Deputy Senate President to preside over the plenary. And even though if they wanted to do the RNG, yes, if he had recused himself, they will still have gotten the same result, but it will look more tidy. Senator Natasha has made these allegations that the Senate President tried to sexually harass her. I also think that Senator Natasha should, as a matter of, since they have refused to give her fair hearing in the Senate. Let her make public, credible evidence to back up the claim. It's very easy. The man has said it is a lie. I did not do anything to her. So if there are messages, maybe, oh, please come over to so place, reveal them, expose the man. Do you understand? After all, he who alleges must prove. Bring it. Why are you protecting the man? If it is true that, for instance, if somebody harasses me in this office, if the person harasses me and I try to get justice here and I'm not getting justice, let her bring forward the evidence so that we can help her.
Now, medical professionals are calling on the government to prioritize renal care and improve access to laboratory investigations across hospitals in Nigeria. They made the appeal in Abuja during a sensitization program organized by medical experts from the National Hospital as part of activities marking World Kidney Day. The doctors also urged the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control and other stakeholders to curb Nigeria's access to self-medication in open drug markets. They identified self-medication as a major distributor to the rising cases of kidney disease in the country.
Worldwide, about 10 to 15% of the adult population are affected by chronic kidney disease. And it's the same for Nigeria. About 10 to 15% of the Nigerian population have chronic kidney disease at one stage or the other. And if you look at our population of more than 200 million people, we're looking at more than 20 million people living presently with chronic kidney disease. And the number keeps increasing every year because the predisposing risk factors for chronic kidney disease, that's diabetes and hypertension especially, are also on the increase.
We have open drug markets. People just go in and buy drugs. That should be controlled. And people should be discouraged from abusing substance. That will go a long way. And for women that don't want spots on their skin, they use bleaching cream. It contains mercury, and mercury is inimical to the skin. So we have to discourage bleaching cream, bleaching soap, and we'll make sure that people take a lot of water and don't use the medication that is not meant for you by misusing or abusing it.
The local government, the state government need to institutionalize renal care and then laboratory investigation in all these structures, especially in our general hospitals. So people are coming with malaria, renal function test should be part of the malaria test, as simple as that.
Abia State Commissioner of Police Danladi Issa has apologized over the recent assault of some staff of a popular club in Umuahia by some of his men. A senior police officer was said to have tried to gain entry into the premises of the club with grilled meat purchased elsewhere, but was resisted by the bouncers, leading to the policeman calling for reinforcement. Chaos ensued after two more policemen arrived and attacked the officers. CP Issa, who tendered the apology while answering questions from journalists in Nvosi Isiala, Unguwar Local Government Area, is assuring that the matter is being followed up to ensure justice is served.
I apologize on behalf of the command for that ugly incident that took place, and I hope it's not going to happen again in the state under my leadership. Well, it's a product of overzealousness and unprofessionalism because the officers involved were not professional in carrying out that their statutory duty when they were called. And presently, they have been arrested and they are undergoing interrogation at the CID, their invitation at the CID. We're going to do all what is humanly possible to make sure that there is justice, and at the end of the investigation, the policemen who are involved will be sacked.
Now, away from that, days after the global celebration of International Women's Day, a disability rights advocacy group organized a one-day capacity building workshop focusing on the theme Self-Discovery, Understanding Your Reproductive Health Rights. News Central's correspondent Sumaya Abubakar reports that the event aims to empower women with disabilities by equipping them with crucial knowledge about their health, rights, and self-advocacy.
Women with disabilities gathered here to discuss their sexual and reproductive health rights, an area often overlooked when advocating disability inclusion.
One of the challenges women with disability face in health sector is the infrastructure. The access to the health services is not accessible either from the entrance. Another challenge is also for communication for deaf or hard of hearing persons, because there is no sign language interpreters for them to communicate with. The doctors do not understand how to speak or direct their statement to a person with disabilities. If I go to the hospital with someone, they'll rather talk to the person than talking to me who have an impairment.
Have we heard about hepatitis B before?
Participants engaged in discussions on self-awareness, bodily autonomy, reproductive health services and advocacy.
The part that always stands out for me in topics like this is consent. Yeah, you get to understand that consent is a whole lot, and without consent, nothing should be done as regards your sexuality and reproduction. So it's always stand out for me.
The insight I'm getting now, right, is to wake up to responsibilities as a woman girl lady or lady woman girl, to know that there's things to look out for when it comes to rights and, of course, protecting myself, not just myself and others as well.
The event also highlighted the urgent need for more inclusive policies that prioritize the reproductive health needs of people with disabilities. Organizers say this is just the beginning of a broader push for awareness and accessibility.
Almost every participant and attendee today goes out of this place with a lot more knowledge as it concerns comprehensive health conversations. And as you know, we have a stigma around talking conversations that have to do with reproductive health, fertility health, as well as anything that has to do with preventive measures such as condom conversations, contraceptive conversations, and conversations that have to do with everything surrounding. So one cannot but overemphasize the need for these sort of conversations to be had, and to ensure that the instrument of the office, which I represent here today, is present.
Though International Women's Day has come and gone, the fight for gender equality and inclusion continues. For the participants, this workshop is more than just a discussion. It is a right step in the direction toward empowerment.
You need to know your rights.
In Lagos, for News Central, Sumaya Abubakar.
The South African government has expressed regret over the United States' decision to expel Ambassador Ebrahim Rasool, calling the move unfortunate. In a statement on Saturday, the South African president urged both nations to uphold the diplomatic decorum amid rising tensions. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced Rasool's expulsion, accusing him of being a race-baiting politician and condemning his outspoken criticism of U.S. President Donald Trump. South Africa responded by reaffirming its commitment to maintaining strong bilateral ties despite the diplomatic rift. The expulsion follows a series of strained relations, including President Trump's decision in February to freeze U.S. aid to South Africa over concerns about a law alleging facilitating land seizures from white farmers. Sudan has suspended all imports from Kenya in protest after the paramilitary rapid support forces who are fighting the army in a 2-year civil war were hosted in Nairobi. Last month, the RSF and its allied political and armed groups signed a founding charter in Kenya expressing the intention to form a parallel government in Sudan. Sudan's military government said the import ban was to preserve the country's sovereignty and protect its national security. In a fiery speech at the Department of Justice on Friday, U.S. President Donald Trump intensified his attack on media organizations critical of his administration, labeling their coverage as illegal and corrupt. Trump singled out CNN, NBC, and unnamed newspapers, accusing them of producing 97.6% bad coverage about him. He also claimed that these outlets act as political arms of the Democrat Party and insisted their reporting was unlawful. The president also suggested that media influence extends to the judiciary, alleging that coordinated coverage was shaping legal rulings. Meanwhile, his administration has restricted access for mainstream media while favoring right-wing outlets.
Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, and MSDNC, and the fake news CNN, and ABC, and CBS, and NBC, and they'll write whatever they say. And what do you do to get rid of it? You convict Trump. All you have to do is be really tough on him and ultimately convict him, and they leave you alone. It's totally illegal what they do. I just hope you can all watch for it, but it's totally illegal.
Canada's newly sworn-in Prime Minister Mark Carney has taken a firm stance against U.S. President Donald Trump's repeated threats to annex Canada. Carney, who succeeded Justin Trudeau as Canada's 24th Prime Minister, has identified tackling Trump's tariffs as a key priority for his administration. Amid escalating tensions and trade disputes with Washington, Carney expressed hope for future cooperation between both countries in advancing mutual interests. However, he described the Trump administration as Canada's greatest challenge in a generation, particularly criticizing the U.S. president's tariffs on Canadian goods. While Ottawa has already reiterated against these measures, Carney's government will focus on strengthening Canada's international alliance. Next week, he is scheduled to visit Paris and London to discuss trade and security.
Ever, in any way, shape, or form, be part of the United States. America is not Canada.
Allies, sir, do you want to?
I don't think we need. I don't think we need to hear it from Nous sommes maîtres. We're masters in our home. We're in charge. And what you will see from this government is focusing on building here at home, building with different partners abroad, and that will reinforce the point. It's good. We're doing it for our own reasons, to be clear, for our own people, for the high-paying jobs. But eventually, the truth will out, and the Americans will understand as well.
Sports now. Nigeria's Kanisola Ajayi delivered a sensational performance at the NCAA Indoor Championships in Virginia, equaling the country's 60-meter national record with a blistering 6.48 seconds in the heats. This time matches Deji Aliu's long-standing record set in 1999 in Laveen, France. Ajayi finished second in a fiercely competitive heat just behind J.C. Stevenson of the United States, who clocked 6.46 seconds. Both sprinters will return for the final, where Ajayi has a chance to make history. It was a strong outing for Nigerian sprinters, as Israel Okon also secured a spot in the final. Winning his heat in 6.54 seconds, he narrowly edged Ghana's Saminu Abdul Rashid, who finished in 6.55 seconds. Another Nigerian, Nicholas Fakorede, ran a personal best of 6.56 seconds to qualify as well, ensuring that 3 Nigerian athletes will be in the men's 60-meter final. Meanwhile, Nathaniel Ezekiel dominated the men's 400-meter heats, advancing as the fastest qualifier with an impressive 45.44 seconds. The Baylor senior comfortably won his race ahead of Jaden Davis, who clocked 45.63 seconds. Ezekiel will enter the final as the favorite to claim the title. With 3 Nigerian sprinters in the 60-meter final and Ezekiel leading the charge in the 400-meter, the country's athletes are making waves on the NCAA indoor circuit, setting the stage for an exciting showdown in Virginia. And Victor Osimhen sent a strong message ahead of Nigeria's World Cup qualifiers, netting a hat-trick in Galatasaray's 4-0 win over Antalyaspor. The Super Eagles striker scored in the 30th, 45th and 3rd and 52nd minutes, taking his Super League tally to 20 goals, now the league's top scorer. Beyond goals, Osimhen's efficiency is remarkable, boasting 20 goals from the AN XG of 16.10. His return is crucial for Nigeria, who have struggled in his absence. The Super Eagles face Rwanda on March 21st and Zimbabwe on March 25th, needing maximum points to revive their World Cup hopes. With 23 international goals in 39 appearances, Osimhen is expected to lead the charge. And that's all this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. In a bid to combat terrorism, Nigerian Air Force strikes and kills over 20 bandits in Katsina. And Okuama mourns victims of military raid, demands release of detained community members. We also told you South African government denounces United States decision to expel Ambassador Ibrahim Rasool. You remember now, you can always send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on your screens now. And do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Able TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.